Hey everybody, my name is Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozzle's Lessons in Confidence, and today I thought I would talk to you a little bit about music and some of my favourite songs. Particularly I wanted to talk to you today about long songs, so I have compiled a top 10 list of top 10 songs that are over 10 minutes long, so it's a top 10 of 10-minute songs. I tried to do a 10 and a 10 thing, I don't think it's really worked, but I thought let's I'd show it just like, a guy that's showing you music that he really likes. So I've put together this little playlist. So first off, we've got the classic Echoes, and this is my favourite song, I think, ever. And I think it will remain my favourite song until, the day I die. Unless something else comes out that somehow manages to have all the same qualities, where there isn't a wasted second, where there isn't a wasted note, where the melodies are so magical and something that I hum to myself whenever I'm having like a bad time or I'm going through some kind of bad issue. If I'm in a stressful situation, I kind of hum Echoes to myself, even if it's completely wrong. Like, that's how intrinsic it is to my life. It's something that I've probably listened to hundreds of times, and it's never really gotten old. And it's something that I can put aside for a bit and then come back to, and I always fall in love with it all over again, and I instantly remember why this is my favourite song that's ever been made. And it's not something that makes me so emotional that I can't revisit it. Like, for instance, my favourite film is Before Sunrise, and I find myself kind of unable to go back to that film because it's such an emotional piece of work for me that and it reminds me so much of myself at that kind of age, and honestly, it really makes me cry every time, that film. And Echoes manages to have emotional resonance without being so overpowering that I can't have a casual listen if I want to have a casual listen. So I've actually chosen the Live at Gdansk. I don't know if that's how you pronounce Gdansk. You can comment below and tell me I'm wrong. I've also got the Live at Pompeii version, but I thought I'd show you the Live in Gdansk version. I'm just going to keep saying it wrong. Because it's 25 minutes, which is a little bit longer than the normal ones, and I think it's the one that goes the heaviest. Like, Pink Floyd isn't a band that's known for being heavy in that regard and making this overwhelming wall of noise, but I think when they do stuff like this... let's go further. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this. It's a really good version, okay? It's a really solid version. I think it's the last version that Richard Wright ever played on. And David Gilmour has since gone on to say that he won't play the song anymore because he feels it would be wrong to play that song without Rick Wright. And as sad as it is that I'll never get to see Pink Floyd play my favourite song ever, there are people out there that have done little covers of it. Like this guy, Ewan Cunningham, who is... I've spoken to him before over Messenger. He's really, really nice guy, really down to earth. He did this 7 years ago. I think he would have been about 19, 20 at the time. Move it slightly. I think he does a really good job, personally. He really captures the same sound. He's not trying to do everything exactly the same. Like, he's willing to use the same experiments, but have his own fun with them. He's not trying to make every single note that David Gilmour played sound exactly the same. He's having fun with it, because that's what music is. It's a way of having fun. And he does every instrument himself. All of those figures were just him edited together. And it's a really nice version. I've listened to it maybe 4, 5, 6 times, something like that. It's not my favourite version of the song because it's not, the boys from Pink Floyd doing it, but, it is a beautiful rendition of my favourite ever song, and I thought I would give it a little shout out. I'll put the link in the description for this version if I remember. So, all in all, Echoes, I don't really know quite how to describe it. It's a song that is probably because it is a prog rock odyssey, but it's a prog rock odyssey with surprisingly few parts, and the parts it has, it really develops to its absolute maximum. There is no idea that's left untapped. There's no note that goes amiss, awry. There's no element of the song that feels like it's dragging, or that it's underdeveloped, or that it could have been done differently in a more interesting way. Everything feels so utterly perfect, and I wouldn't have this song any other way, and I think it's a miracle that we live in a world where this song exists. So this is my favourite ever song, Echoes. Next up, this isn't in order of my favourites, by the way. I just thought I'd start with the first. Normally, if it was a proper top 10, I would finish on Echoes, but I figure let's get Echoes out of the way, because you probably want to get some stranger sort of cuts. So next we're going to go to Dream Theater, who are a band I'm not in love with. I find them to be a bit kitsch, a bit lame sometimes. Like with some of their songs, I feel like they're doing a lot of the kind of stuff and tapping into a lot of the prog rock cliches of overplaying and doing that kind of thing. However, I find with a lot of prog rock bands that there is that one song that works perfectly. Like for Genesis, I can't remember what the song's called. Genesis, it's on Foxtrot. It's like the third to last one. Yeah, it's Utility and the Coastliners. This is, I'm not a Genesis fan. I don't really like Supper's Ready. I don't really like this album, but I do like this song. That's all you're gonna hear out of it, because I don't trust it to not give me a copyright claim. Anyway, let's go back to Dream Theater. This song is another one of my favourites. It's one that I quite instantly fell in love with. It's actually a very recent find for me. I only found this a couple of months ago. And I'd heard of Dream Theater before, and I'd kind of known what they were about, and I kind of joked and memed around with all that kind of stuff. And then one day I just sort of thought, okay, I'm going to give one of their albums a solid go. So I listened to Systematic Chaos. I ended up skipping through some of the shorter metal songs, and I came across the song Repentance, which I really, really liked. It's a very calm song for Dream Theater standards, and just delving into the album kind of legitimized Dream Theater and stopped them from just being a joke in my head, which I think doing that allowed me to go into this song, In the Name of God, with an open mind. And this song is genuinely really beautiful. I don't think it has the strongest start. Like, I really like this intro. I like all this building up to it, and I like the riff. Where's the riff? It's a cool riff. That's all cool. I don't particularly enjoy the verses here. Get to the verse. Not super keen on this stuff, but I do kind of like it, and it fits within the song. What I really love is the chorus, which is going to come around about now. In the name of God. I don't know, it gives me a bit of a Meatloaf quality. It's like Meatloaf on steroids. So then it does another round, and it goes back to the chorus, and then it expands on the chorus in a really fun way with some new lyrics. And the lyrics are all about... I think it's specifically meant to be a takedown of religious extremism and acts of terrorism. I kind of read it as more a critique of religion as a whole, particularly because towards the end there's a line, does following faith lead us to violence? I think that's the line. Does following faith lead us to violence? And I feel like history has kind of said yes. You're going to find out from watching this channel, I'm not a particularly religious person. I've got my own religion, which I might get into at some point. That sounds like such a hippie thing to say. But, you know, it's basically the religion is just like people believe what they want to believe, and, you know, the beliefs are real in the fact that they are believed. So anyway, enough of that. It goes into this very interesting, I think it's a bridge, not sure. It's really reminiscent of Porcupine Tree, the kind of darker prog metal stuff that comes out of that sort of sphere, of the calmer prog metal sort of scene. I really like what he does with his vocals here. Daughters, sons and 10 plural wives. I love that lyric. 40 sons and daughters, unconsenting plural wives. That, especially considering the fact that it's a takedown of religion, something I really am opposed to. And, you know, plural wives, like the idea of wives basically being this bartering tool is present in, I can't remember if it's in Christianity, it's definitely in Islam. I'm not sure about any of the others, but I'm fairly sure it's in Christianity as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's not get into religion because there's no winning. Then it's got that bit. I love this bit. I don't know, I'm just explaining all the bits, but I'm doing this to give you a sense of the structure, because despite this being Dream Theater, who are very... and we are going to get to some of that, like this. I wasn't joking. But this time they do it. The same with Genesis, how that song, that one song, all of their wankiness kind of comes together and makes something brilliant. This section is genuinely one of my favourite pieces of music. And I'm going to talk over it so that you go and listen to this, because this is absolutely amazing. And then it goes back into a really nice version of the chorus, and then the live at Budokhan version has this amazing Gilmour-esque solo at the end with John Petrucci's, is it John Petrucci or John Petrucci? Whatever. I should have really looked the names up of these people and how to pronounce them, how to pronounce anything, you know. But he's got his own flair to it as well, because he's a very fast player, and he's incredibly good at the guitar. He can do stuff that is just out of this fucking world. I'll give you a brief... Okay. Alright. But he's doing it in such a fun way. And I really, really enjoy the song. The first time I heard it, when it got into that bridge section, my mind just sort of expanded slightly. And I just sort of listened to it and I thought, oh my fucking God. I'd been getting a bit bored with music, actually, in that sort of space of time. I felt like I was going through the same circles, finding the same kind of thing, and hearing that transition really, really did something to me. I really, really enjoyed it. And since then, I've found so much new music. Octavarium is probably their most famous song. I've gone for the live score version. I'm not super keen on the beginning of the song, but I really like when it gets into all this sort of stuff. Not this stuff. When is it? It's the more metal-y sections. All this stuff. Down, 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 down. And if you try and count to 4, none of this stuff is in 4/4. It's all over the place. But it sounds so natural. And they make it sound so easy. And the vocal melody over this bit is really, really something. It's so fun. And there's a lot of musical references. Hang on. Dance machine. I just think that's such a fun little rhythm. And it's something that's so engaging, it's so catchy. Do, 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 down, 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 wow, down, wow, down, wow, down, down, down. And, you know, if a song can make you start doing that or a bit of that, you know, while you're listening to it, specifically if you're on the treadmill at the gym, right, and you're running at, like, you know, 13 kilometers an hour, whatever, and you start doing a bit of that, and you feel like a fucking guitar god while you're doing it, that's a song that is a cracker. And I thought as well, similar to Echoes, there is a full band with an orchestra cover. This is done by a large group of people. Not going to get super deep into it. This is not one person, as you can tell. This is a larger arrangement with loads of incredibly, incredibly talented people. I really implore you to check this out. And the vocalist here actually really does a good job of impersonating James LaBrie. Like, he does stuff that... Where would it be? Would it be around here? No, bit further back. He does a pretty good job. He's a tiny bit more nasally, but You know, I think he does it really, really well, and I think he's really good at singing. I hope he gets into finding his own voice in terms of his own original material with maybe a band of his own. So we've done 3 songs now, and I'd like to speed this up a wee bit. Porcupine Tree, Anesthetize. The whole Fear of a Blank Planet album is something that has a lot of deep meaning to me. It's an album that really takes me back to when I was about 17 and I was hanging out with my college friends, and we used to just go to the local park. It was Wormwood Scrubs Park, which if you know London, it's also a prison, Wormwood Scrubs prison, and we used to go there at night, listen to Porcupine Tree, and just like pass around a joint and have some beers. And it felt so real because the album was kind of about people like us. Not necessarily like none of us were on like prescription medication or anything like that, but the general idea of being dissatisfied in your youth, in the prime of your life, really resonated with me and really struck a chord with me and made me actively try and seek out the best life that I could. So I really owe Porcupine Tree and Stephen Wilson, Gavin Harrison, and Richard something, and the other guy. So I can't remember all these people's names. I barely remember my own name. Anyway, this song is really something. It's quite a more metal-y song. I particularly love the intro when it's got these toms, and like I really love the shots as well. Just to get away from just the music, just look at the shots. Let's turn it off. Look at these shots, how cool that is. And then it comes up to this, and it's also scenic and you know, atmospheric. And whoever did the videography for this, in fact, it's so good I don't even want to call it videography. I want to call it cinematography. I think it's really, really beautiful. And there's a shot somewhere further along. I think it's this one. I'm not sure. It's not one of these. It's something like this. There's one where it kind of goes across Stephen Wilson. Also, Stephen Wilson's performance is absolutely killer. It's so reminiscent of the studio version, which is what has the most resonance towards me. I found the live version a bit later on. And you know, apart from the fact there's like clapping from the audience in the midsection, because they just delivered like the most killer part of a song ever, it's pretty much the same as it is on the studio version. They're not a jam-focused band in that kind of way. They don't go and like Pink Floyd do, or like Dream Theater did on In the Name of God, where they turn the song into something slightly different. Dream Theater didn't do it massively, but they added that solo. Porcupine Tree don't really do that kind of thing. They're more about bringing the studio album experience to life, because Stephen Wilson is an extremely album-focused man. Much more so than like myself. I'm not particularly album focused. I just like singles. I like songs. I was thinking about this thing where they asked people like, what's the perfect album to you? And you know, there was different famous musicians that all had their own answers, and I couldn't think of a single album that I consider perfect all the way through. Porcupine, the Fear of Blank Planet comes sort of close, but there's parts of it I'm not super keen on. Like I feel like the way it ends, Sleep Together, isn't amazing. I feel like the intro track, Fear of a Blank Planet, is good, but not like the best thing ever. I really like My Ashes. I wish that it had some of the tracks from Nil recurring, like Normal or Cheating the Polygraph, instead of some of the songs that are actually on the album. So I can't consider it a perfect album, even though it's one of my favourite albums ever. I can't even consider Medal from Pink Floyd, which has Echoes on it, as one of my favourite, as one of the perfect albums. It's not a perfect album to me because it's got the football stuff in Fearless, which I'm sure has some thematic purpose, but it just sounds irritating to me and I always skip it. So it does nothing for me. So the fact that that's in there means it's not a perfect album. And then Saint-Tropez is a lovely song, is not a song that sticks with me particularly. And then Seamus is like a bit of a joke. I like it, but it's a bit of a joke. I'm not sure if it's a joke in that it's well loved or whatever. Anyway, this is the band that anyone that knows me is going to be sick of hearing about. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Yeah, stop your bloody chattering. So their song "The River" on their album Quarters wasn't a song that I really fell in love with. It was one of the first songs that I heard from King Gizzard, and it was the song that got me into them. But it was never a song I really revisited. But lately, in their past few years performing live, they've started really embracing the jam band quality of their performances. And so The River originally was a song that went up to about here. It was about 10 minutes and 10 seconds long, right? They've now turned it into this 25-minute long bloody opus with these extreme, like, heavy sections. Like this stuff I really like, and then it's got this. I think this is all in 3/4 as well, which I love all this kind of stuff. Just going ham on the fucking guitars, just going wild on everything, making as much noise as humanly possible, just going full balls to the wall, chaos. There's a part in this song where the audience are really annoying me, actually. The audience for this band is a pain in the ass. They don't shut the fuck up, honestly. I'm trying to find the bit. So they have this really nice cool down section, which on their version of the song that came out last year, which I think is called like the Chicago River, it was performed at Chicago. I think the cool down section lasted like 8 minutes, and I think that was way too long. Here it's more like 3 minutes, and that's much more acceptable, in my opinion. And it feels a lot better. Somewhere around here. Yeah, somewhere around here. So he's doing all this, and he kind of says, oh, I feel like I'm on acid right now. And that's what Stu says, that this guy, he says, oh, I feel like I'm on acid right now because I'm loving what I'm doing so much. And then in response, some twat in the audience is like, get him to hit the gong! Get him to hit the gong! It's like, shut the fuck up. You're fucking me up. I love that. It's like, it's such a nice way of taking down that audience member without resorting to anything nasty. And then the song returns in huge... I always get the wrong bit. Then it returns into this, and it has a huge amount of fun. This song is an absolute journey, one of my favourite songs, and it wasn't a song that I really loved until I found these live performances. The original version of the song sounds a lot different. It sounds a lot cleaner and a little bit more lo-fi and a little bit more neo-psychedelic in the same vein as stuff like Tame Impala and what was that band called? Not were they like New Horizons or something? I think they've got like 2 albums. It's like Pond kind of stuff where it's got these quite sharp guitars. And I think they changed the direction to have these more soothing guitars, which I think is a better direction. Another song that they made quite recently, actually, which I didn't like on the studio version as well, but I really came to love in the live version, just because the studio version was a bit too clean. It's a song called Change on their album Changes. It's a much more keyboard-driven song. It starts with this very nice, slow kind of thing to it. Which I feel like it's not in 4/4 because it feels like it's got that ghost note at the end. It really messes you up, but in a fun way. Also, this here, I think this is a Boss ME 50. I've got one of those. Not all that matters. Anyway, we need to really start getting through this because we're going to be here all fucking day. Homesick is a band that I found... Airbag is the name of the band. I found Airbag. We didn't have internet for about a month. And I get all my music through YouTube. I don't have Spotify or anything really on download. And I went through all my files, right, trying to find anything that I could just watch or listen to or just enjoy, because I've got DVDs and stuff, but I couldn't be bothered, like, setting the whole DVD system up and all that. So I knew I had a couple sitcoms and stuff, but I went looking through my downloads and weird folders to try and find something. And I found a pirated copy of this whole album, all rights removed. And it was the only album that I had, and it was the only music I could listen to for that month. And the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, yeah, this album's good. It's very Pink Floyd worship. Yeah, it's nice. And then this song came on, and it blew my fucking mind, right? It's a song that's in 3 parts. Officially it's called Homesick 1 through 3. It starts off with this acoustic-y kind of ballad type thing, which is a combination of A minor and D major. So D major, A minor. That's it. That's all you need, right? You don't need complicated chords and you don't need loads of them. And then it just carries on that same rhythm. And it has some fun with some David Gilmour solos. The guy that is the guitarist for this, he actually runs a website, I think it's called gilmourish.com, and he basically gives you tutorials on how to achieve David Gilmour's guitar tone with whatever kind of equipment you have available, and how to get the exact sort of one with the kind of equipment he would have been using. Then the song goes into this very quiet section, this kind of airy ambience, which then turns you into this kind of, I don't know what it is, sort of jazzy? That turns into its own section, which then turns into another bit of ambience, which then leads you out in a really fun way. So you got a few sections there, and it's a brilliant journey, and I just wanted to show you tiny little clips of it because this is a song that I think you need to hear without any spoilers or anything like that. In fact, all of them, so I don't know why you've watched this video. I want to see if in the audience retention, right as I say, I don't know why you're watching this video, if it starts to shoot down because everyone's followed my commands and stopped watching. If you do follow my command, although you've just left the video, like the video, comment your favourite song that's over 10 minutes long, or whatever song you might like, or a song that you think I might like, or just a song that you want to share because maybe you've made it, maybe it's your song, you know? A lot of places on the internet try and demotivate artists from promoting themselves, and as long as you're not being a twat about it and just copy-pasting links and spamming, you know, if it feels like you're a real person that's actually caring about this stuff and you're sharing it from a place of love, then yeah, go for it. Share whatever you want. Anyway, Archive is this weird band that started off as this trip-hop outfit in the mid-90s. Sort of more hip-hop than trip. So they're a bit more hip-hop than, say, Massive Attack or something like that. So think of some of the more hip-hoppy Massive Attack songs. And that's how Archive got their start on their album Londinium. Then they did another couple albums and they started to get away from the trip-hop thing whilst keeping the same general sound but moving towards a more progressive rock soundscape, I suppose. And this is on their 3rd or their 4th album. You all look the same to me. It's the intro song to the album. It's called Again, and it starts off in a way that you wouldn't expect a trip-hop song to start. It's another one of these acoustic-y things. But then it does get into your trip-hop stuff. There's also a live version of this, which I need to actually get up because I didn't bother to put it in, where I can't remember the name of the guy, but he gives the vocal performance at the end is genuinely, I think it's on this version, it's something else. Look at the way all of them are just going insane. His voice honestly breaks. So can you imagine like 15 minutes of build up towards this and you're getting this, and it's a nice long section as well. And he's like, I can't sing, right? But imagine within your, and all the vocal cracks really help him because it feels like the performance itself is breaking down in this huge wall of noise, surrounded by all these samples and these crazy effects. Really beautiful song. Another song of theirs that I really like is what the fuck's it called? Lights. I think it's called Lights. Yeah. Although the problem I have with Lights, I love the first 8 minutes where it's the instrumental. I don't particularly like when it gets into the vocals. Yeah, get on with it. With fear. But then you think it's going to do like, and da da da, or something like that. No. With fear. Hang on. It's with fear. And he just keeps using that thing, and it kind of gets on my nerves. So I like the first half of the song, I'm not super keen on the second half, just because of that. So sorry, but they did another song quite recently called, it was on with Angels and Call to Arms and Angels. It's a 15-minute one. Daytime Coma. I've only got the demos. I just want to hear the bloody actual song. I want to show you the actual song. Okay, here it is. And this is like, again, but in a more piano-y sort of way. It does a lot of that ambient-y sort of stuff. And it has elements of what almost feels like krautrock, where it's really sticking on something so simple and using editing effects to create this really interesting pulsating movement. In the same way that bands like Can and I think it was Can that worked by splicing together bits of tape and editing things rather than jamming everything out and getting everything together. Speaking of Can, let's move on to Can, because Can have a song called Mother's Sky, which if you're into your krautrock, you'll already know the song. But one of my favorite songs, next to like Hallogallo by Noi. I like this one because it's got vocals as well, if I can find them. Down, bow, bow, bow. And that, by the way, is such a simple thing. Dun, dun. I'll show you. Hang on. It is literally, I don't know if it's an E, but it's literally just this. Is it an E? Yeah, it's an E. Anyway, enough of that. I should have started doing that from the beginning, actually. Really lovely, simple song, and that's what I love about so much krautrock, is that krautrock is actually the thing that got me to realize that I could just make stuff. Krautrock to me is like the French New Wave of music, in my opinion, in that it was basically dismantling the idea that you needed to have, you know, the most incredible compositional arrangement talent. And a lot of these bands were extremely talented, but in a different kind of context. They weren't similar to the maximalism of progressive rock. They were able to tap into that same epicness and grandiose quality without needing the complexity of a band like Yes or Genesis or King Crimson. So I really like what they do with that. And Vibravoid do a really great cover of it. They're more of a modern psych kind of outfit. They turn it into this heavier kind of metalish kind of thing, which I really enjoy. It's a bit long. It's half an hour long, and I think it could have benefited from maybe being like 20 minutes. But this is three guys. It's three guys that are making all this sound. And it's a lot of fun. I've seen, not this band, but bands that make very similar music to this. And it's a lot of fun to do that kind of music. It's a lot of fun to play this sort of thing. I think we're going to start wrapping it up soon, because I realise just how many songs I've got on this playlist. Neil Young with Crazy Horse. There's so much Neil Young music that I couldn't possibly begin to start listing it all off, because I've barely tapped into his discography. The man's got like 45 albums or something like that. And this is one that I do like. I think it goes on too long, but I do really like as a piece of ambiance. This, really simple. A. It's literally just A minor, A and E minor. Yeah, it did look like he had the same guitar as me there. Oh, okay, then it turns into another chord, whatever. But anyway, the main meat and two veg of this is this kind of thing. And then it does these very long solos, which occasionally fall down to this reprise of I'm drifting back, I'm drifting back. I think the whole point, I mean, drifting back, it feels like a very nostalgic song. It feels like you're taking something that was magical from the past and expanding it in a way that makes it lose its magic, but in a way where it's purposeful, and in a way where doing that actually provides more magic to. I hope what I'm saying makes some sense. You know how you might remake a film, for instance, and you make it a lot more bombastic and all this sort of stuff, but in the process you kind of lose something. But sometimes there's a remake out there, like The Thing is a remake of another film called The Thing from the 50s, but the film that you know from the 80s is a remake that takes things in a more bombastic direction and is beneficial. It benefits from it as a result. So this song kind of feels like The Thing in that regard. I need to really start skipping through these now. Boris with Merzbow. Don't really like Merzbow, but I do really like Boris. It's a very noise-driven thing for the first 10 minutes. A lot of this, very uncomfortable, but in a good way. It starts to build, really builds. So you got some little licks like that, really, really nice punching. Oh! It makes Black Sabbath feel like Bob Dylan in terms of heaviness. Like, it's really, really something. And then there's a live version, which I think will give you a good idea on what it is they're doing. Well, you might maybe not, because it's so dark. I'm trying to not play too much, because I don't know about. Well, what they tend to do is they get feedback, hence the name feedbacker. They get feedback from the amplifiers, and they have all their amplifiers turned up to like crazy fuck. So really, really entertaining stuff. I think we're going to close out on Hallogallo, because Hallogallo is one of the best songs that have ever been made. It's so simple. It's so nice. All it is this. Is it that exactly? I can't remember. I'm starting to jam over it. Fuck it. Should we close out on a bit of a jam of it?